Alright, welcome back. Now the Kalevala Expanse has been out for I think over a month, and I think it's time for me to go there and show you how things work. Now I know my upload schedule has been all over the place. I've been playing a different game a bit more actively, and I actually managed to get top spot on the server in that game. So yeah, uh, now I can actually focus more on Eve, so you can expect a bit more videos as well. But yeah, it was a very rough grind for me, but was eventually paid off by being the first on the leaderboard on the server. That was fun. So I think in one of the next videos I'll be taking a tower to assault in the small Kalevala Expanse system, since we know that the Kalevala Expanse has been separated by ship size category, so you'll have systems where you can go only with destroyers, frigates, cruisers, then you have battlecruisers, battleships, and of course, not really sure about capitals. I think capitals can't go there, but I'll also test that theory out at one point. And I'll be using a very similar build to this one for the Talvar. I mean, this thing is really awesome. And I also will do the same thing with different ships, since I'm very curious to see what works and what doesn't work. So a lot of testing for me is definitely up ahead. But this would be the Talvar that I would be using, and you can use the same build with the tier 8 Talvar Assault, the Nano Core. Well, it's the Mimitar NCO core, old one. Has only the primary primary attributes, but I leave the Nano Core stuff up to player preference. You can use any Nano Core that you like, you want, and that you have. I mean, in my experience, at least from my experience, I personally haven't really experienced a big like buff or anything like that with any Nano Core. It didn't really, change much for me. Maybe it's different for other players, but in my case it really didn't change much. And for the implants, well, I think I'll be taking the Warhead Charge with the Talvar, but more on that I guess in one of the next videos. But for this ship, this works really well, although not really required. You can go even without an implant, but implants just make things easier, and nowadays obtaining one, I think it became easier. I mean, carry services exist for the Dormant Realm, and you also can obtain them via market. So yeah, I guess I'm not a fan of implants. That didn't change, but I guess getting the implants became a bit more easier nowadays. So at least that's what I've noticed. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I've noticed. Now, where is the needle drag? I will show you how this thing works, and you have several different types of needle drags. You have for solo expedition, for a small fleet, and for a larger fleet. You also have needle drags for various ship sizes. You have the small ones, medium ones, and large ones. Today I'll be using the small one, since I'll be eating these smaller ships into the Kalevala Expanse, and I'll show you how things work. I will also show you the new Anomaly. The new Anomaly is kinda awesome, and honestly, I'm surprised at how the new Anomaly ended up. Definitely challenging, but the rewards seem pretty nice, and you can complete them with a cruiser. Haven't really encountered one for a frigate or a destroyer, although it is recommended that you complete those with a fleet, with a group, with a small group. Doesn't have to be a lot of ships. It's not too difficult. It is doable. I will do it solo, but definitely more easier if you have a buddy or two to tag along. Definitely can be really fun, and you can get some pretty good ESC out of the Expanse. One thing that can kinda be tricky is finding the exits, and I'll show you how that works, since I know that some folks have been stuck there, and yeah, it's very easy to get out if you know how to. Alright, well, small one has been equipped, and let's undock, and let me show you how this needle drag thing works.
Undocking.
Honestly, I think needle drags have been a great addition to the game. Definitely make the whole thing more dynamic. And the only thing that's kind of poking my eyes at being happy with everything are implants. I'm not happy with the implants. I think implants should definitely be changed or reworked or nerfed significantly, but that's me, I guess. And well, here you have the description. This says that west side, okay. has to have clear cargo. It will also consume your capacitor. 75% of the capacitor will basically be depleted. And well, time to open the portal and let's see how this works. Now you can open this anywhere basically. You can open this in front of a station, at a gate, in space, I mean anywhere. And this one requires me to be in a fleet, so let me use the needle jack and well, okay, it's being constructed and now we're waiting. There we go. Alrighty then, let's stop the ship. You have to be very in close proximity to the portal. You don't want to, you know, be too far away because then I think it will not pick you up. So you have to be close to it. And you have this blue circle around the portal that does tell you when it's completed. So you can kind of look at that and you see the blue circle. There we go. Now it's opened and ship is about to jump. Well,
running low.
it did eat up my capacitor, which means that for this job, Sister of Thief ships, Blood Raider ships seem to be quite good since you have to recharge the capacitor now. And welcome to the Kalevala Expanse. It will yeet you at the station. At the station, yeah, sure. It will yeet your ship at the star in the system, and you will be cloaked. So that's one thing that I guess kind of prevents you from being jumped. But you can technically camp the stars of the Kalevala Expanse systems, and maybe you know, can catch something. But you also have belts here. And I'm not really sure how Kalevala Expanse mining will work, since you need to have a needle jack to get out of the system or the region, and for that you have to shoot down ships in order to obtain those homecoming needle jacks. They are found by any NPC ship in the Kalevala Expanse basically, so you have to shoot down ships in order to be able to get the needle jack to get out of the system here. And just to see, I mean, you have basically new anomalies here, and in theory, since this is a smaller region, you will have smaller type targets, and usually content here should be for the smaller size ships. And honestly, I'm pretty excited for that, and I will be eating the Talvar left and right in one of the next videos, since today I wanted to focus on the new anomaly that is exclusive for the Kalevala Expanse, and that new anomaly can be really good. And honestly, it is, you'll see, I mean, it's honestly something that I've been personally waiting for a while, and finally it is added to the game. It's very similar to EVE Online's Dead Space anomalies, Dead Space sites that you can scan, and that's why I'm quite excited to see how that will work here. You will have a bunch of systems, bunch of gates where you can go to with your ship, and it's basically how the whole region works for smaller ships, larger ships, for medium-sized ships. It works really well, and so far I think I'm pretty happy with how things go here. I also like the space. It looks different. I mean, it is one of the systems that looks kind of unique, although does resemble, I think, Blood Raider space a little bit. I think they are also kind of categorized by different factions in a way. I guess we will find that out very soon. So let me take the Ashimmu and let me go back to there we go. Now we are back. So time to see what this new anomaly, how this new anomaly looks like, and time to see how I'll be able to clear them. I've heard that they are quite difficult and quite tricky. So now I will open the there we go. It's the small Centrum anomaly, or whatever it's called. It is the new one. The new one that is kind of a fusion between an Inquisitor and Scout anomaly, with different opponents and with different mechanics. You also have some buffs and debuffs. It has a bunch of different acceleration gates where you can go to, and I find that pretty interesting. And that's why I'm saying that it does remind me on the Evil Lines Dead Space, because it really kind of looks like one. Alright, well, here we are. So we have two opponents, and these ships are elites. They're tough. They're very, very tough, and they can be quite nasty. So one thing to keep in mind. I did take the Ashimmu that I used a couple of videos ago. This is my tank Cobalt Edge Kalevala Expanse Ashimmu, and you know, I tested it out for the Cobalt Edge, worked really well. Now time to test it out over here and see how this little boat will perform. I mean, so far I've been pretty happy with it, and it works really, really well. I'm using the Pulse Crystal Implant. For a change, I completely forgot to change the general unit, so there is no general unit that benefits the ship at the moment. I have heatsink, but I don't have heatsink installed on the ship, so yeah. And in general, I prefer a tanky ship for these anomalies, although you can technically go with something more of a glass type, but I wouldn't really be trusting a glass ship over here, because these NPC ships are dangerous and they do some good damage. And over here, so far, from my experience, it does seem like Blood Raider ships, the Ashimmu Cruiser, would be the perfect choice for these anomalies, since they seem to be best suited for this job. I mean, they have a good tank, they have fantastic capacitor. Their DPS is on the lower to medium side, but you know, it's not much of a big deal breaker for me. It has more than enough DPS to kill these ships, and absolute no issue to go through their shield or armor or hull. Even without an implant, it wasn't much of a problem for me to do this site. It does kill. It only takes a bit more time in the end, but it is honestly not as scary as it looks. Now the drones are dangerous, but it is not as scary as it might seem that it is. The only, I guess, problem would be other players, since the region is not that big. And actually, I didn't really look at the map in a larger scale, but I don't think that there is a lot of Kalevala Expanse systems where you can go to right now. I mean, there's a bunch of them, but not like hundreds, not hundreds or thousands systems. Maybe like 69 systems or something. So the chances to stumble upon a player are indeed quite high, and the largest threat here would be other players. The largest threat is other players, basically, but high risk, high reward, and that's why it is recommended to go here in a fleet, because not because the PvE is difficult, but because of the other players. You will have solo players, you will have fleets. In most cases you will find fleets, small groups, so it is definitely recommended that you have a group yourself if you go here. Not because of the PvE, but because of other players. They will definitely be able to disrupt your operation here. Killing these ships, it just takes time, it's not that difficult, but players, on the other hand, that might be somewhat of a problem. And I know some of my friends are quite active in the region, so yeah, you might encounter them. And if you do encounter them, well, good luck with that, because they are quite skilled. And honestly, I've been on the fence to buy an Ashimmu for a couple days now, and the way how this ship works for PvE is very attractive. I mean, the Ashimmu used to be my go-to solo PvP ship, and maybe, just maybe, that does happen again. I mean, if I decide to fly the Ashimmu again for PvP, then I'll definitely buy one for PvP, but I think I will buy one Ashimmu that's going to be specific for PvE, since this thing does run PvE content really well, and it just slaps. I'm very happy with how the Ashimmu works when it comes to the new anomalies and new space. If the Ashimmu is, well, let's say, if the Ashimmu was completely outdated or replaced or completely outclassed for PvP by other ships, this ship is outclassing all the other ships for the new region. Maybe Sister of Eve ships might be somewhere close. After all, The Sister of Eve ships do get some extra stats for the needle drags, less cooldown, less capacitors and stuff like that. So maybe Sister of Eve ships might be better for jumping around, and so it's going to make them more unique for the role. But Blood Raider ships, if you're solo, Blood Raider ships will work, or I would say maybe better, when it comes to the combat part in the Kalevala Expanse. I haven't checked out the blue stuff, the blue scanners. I remember hearing that you have some exploration sites over here, and I'm very curious and honestly kind of excited to test out those new exploration sites over here. Definitely, if that exists, of course, I will be going there. And for that, I think I'll be using the status, but we will see. Maybe status, maybe something similar to the status. It should be it should be doable. But I'm very excited to see how that would work, and it could provide some very interesting loot. I mean, Kalevala Expanse has had some fantastic loot so far, although I wasn't that lucky, but my friends are hauling sometimes 50 billion out of the space, so if you want to experience something completely new, if you want some action, or if you want something exciting, the new systems called Edge, new regions called Edge, and the Kalevala Expanse are definitely different. And honestly, the way how it turned out to be in the end, I'm okay with it. More or less, it's about what I expected, and I'm personally really happy with the new regions so far. They could be improved. They can be, of course, they can be better. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy. And with the recent addition to have content exclusively for smaller ships, I'm all in for that. I mean, I always wanted to do something with the Ashimmu, something like this. And this is exactly what I was doing in EVE Online at one point. Basically, finding sites and just go and clear them. And you can do about the same thing in this game now with the new systems. I still want to see these types of sites in high sec, in low sec, in null sec, in normal systems. I would say that's perhaps the next thing that needs to be added, or should I say it's time for something like that to be added to the game, to have systems, or not systems, but to have content like this all over the place. I think that would be exciting. And if that's, let's say, some combat anomalies that you can scan down, I'm all in for that as well, since, you know, I would give players more stuff to do. And so far, I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out to be. And I did say that this is kind of the developers, you know, testing the waters, and the whole couple of Edge and Kalevala Expanse and the current needle drags do feel kind of like a beta test of more, let's say, complex stuff that they're working on. So far this year seems to be, it should be quite action-packed, honestly. Now for January and for February, I have absolutely no idea what's going to be released. I'm kind of leaning towards some new ships. I kind of feel like that they might add some new ships, and then new space, and then again new ships. So at one point, it's going to give us a. I mean, we already kind of have a track record of updates that we have seen in the last couple months and experienced. So I firmly believe that the next big thing to be added are new ships. Now, what type of new ship? Well, I have no idea. I still think it might be a bit too early for Titans. I don't really think that Titans are just around the corner. I believe Titans will be added maybe around the anniversary again, or maybe the same time when we received those carriers, super carriers. I think it's going to be about the same time when we received the super carriers, which was around May, June, I believe. That's around that time we received those super carriers, and you know, there's a good chance that Titans will be added to the game at that point of time. But again, we will see what will happen. And I mean, if you ask me, I would postpone Titans for the next year. I mean, maybe that's a good idea, maybe that's a bad idea. It's if I was asked to, you know, if I had, let's say, power to tell them what to do, I would postpone Titans for the next year, and I would be focusing more on the smaller ships. When I say smaller ships, to add like new tactical destroyers, cruisers, and stuff like that. That's what I would be. That's what I would be doing. I mean, maybe, and I'm being dead honest here. Maybe I'm a bit biased because I like cruisers. See, I mean, when I said I'm biased, well, I'm probably biased when it comes to the new ships, I guess, because I like cruisers. I like my cruisers. And if I had power, that's what I would do. Is it good? Is it wrong? Well, I mean, maybe it's not good, since bias shouldn't be added. I shouldn't be adding bias, but in a more joking way, I would focus on, let's say, more cruisers. So, I did that first part, and down the road, you actually do get some interesting buffs and debuffs. In most cases, it's actually debuffs, and I've been here for a while now. I've cleared like 7 or 8 floors. I mean, the anomaly is long. That's a fact. The anomaly is long, or at least the anomaly that I'm doing here seems to be indeed quite long. I did get some homecoming needle drags that are in your cargo hold. I did get some blueprints, very expensive drones. You can get some pretty juicy stuff over here. So I'm not really. I mean, actually, to be honest, I was decently surprised by what I got here. I expected the generic loot. I expected, some good stuff, but not this much of good stuff, and was pretty good. And if you are doing industry, and this is also one very interesting thing, you can actually combine the Kalevala Expanse and industry. You can do combat and industry at the same time, since you can find the blueprints and materials over here for basically free. And then the only thing that might cost something is the manufacturing cost, the click cost, basically, from the blueprint from the market itself. So we honestly, I like how this works. If you know what you're doing, if you have a plan, if you have an idea, and this is honestly a very interesting way to combine alongside with industry and manufacturing. It seems to be kind of to have close ties with it. And I know, let me just for us once I can go back to the part when I said I was biased, because I want to sound wrong here. I was mostly joking, like when I said that I would add new stuff. It was mostly a joke, since I like to joke around occasionally, because why not? It actually makes me more happy to see people laugh and have a good time, than see people being angry. And if I can make someone laugh, or if I can make someone have a good time, I'll do it. It's just as easy as that. Simple as that. How has the Ashimmu been performing so far? I mean, I haven't died yet, and I've been here for more than 2 hours by now. This is honestly quite long indeed. And now I understand why they said that it is something that should be done with a teammate or two. And honestly, I like the fact that the game kind of does orient. I mean, it's Eve. Teamwork is key to victory in the end. But I also like the recent push for more teamwork. That's one thing that the game kind of lacks. And honestly, teamwork, I'm all in for that. Teamwork, playing with other people, does make Eve more like Eve, and even in this game does feel more like Eve when you start to play with other people. So I honestly have no complaints about the team aspect part. However, there should be things that you should be doing solo, and I would say that there has to be, and there is kind of a balance between solo and teamwork, although team-based stuff is definitely going to be more enjoyable for the most part. But obviously this is completely doable solo, and if you want to do solo, you can. No one is going to stop you, of course. It might take a while to complete this, but it is definitely worth it, I would say. And again, the main the main threat isn't the drones, it's the players, because if someone does smell you, running one of these sites, and if they have a group, you are in for a ride. And it's not like you can also escape that easily. I mean, you will be playing the cat and mouse game around a couple systems, and if they have a bubble, they can actually bubble your exit. And if they have a scanner, you have basically nowhere to go, unless you can somehow open a rift and just escape that way. Basically, the only way to escape is to open the rift and jump through the rift or through the needle track, or to cloak. I mean, cloaky ships are definitely going to flourish here. Cloaky ships are. I will have to test this out with variety of ships, not only with the Ashimmu, but I think covertop cruisers will definitely play a big role over here, since they can cloak, and you can have a cloaky kite long-range cruiser, a very fast one as well, that can easily run these sites, and it can also escape if it gets jumped. So maybe when it comes to the raw performance, or should I say when it comes to the sheer robustness and sheer tank, maybe the Ashimmu is the best. But when it comes to survivability and stealth, and when I say survivability, I mean the chances to survive a player attack, or should I say the chances to survive being jumped, I would say definitely much higher with something that can cloak, since you can't kill something that you can't see, and cloaky ships can cloak and they can be invisible, so that's a massive advantage that they have over the Ashimmu. And especially when we consider that you have bunch of, well, a bunch of, not exactly a bunch of, but when you consider you have a lot of fleets running around here, definitely the Ashimmu might be outclassed, or sure, it's not outclassed, but outperformed when it comes to the fact that it can, survive, or should I say, the Ashimmu can't cloak. But, and I have no idea if it's possible to, open a station here or something. I think it isn't possible. I think this space is completely off the limits when it comes to sovereignty and stuff like that. So you can't really occupy a system. At least I think that's the case. If you can, then please do tell me in the comments down below. I know in Cobalt Edge you can open an outpost and you can inhabit the systems. I mean, there are a couple. I saw a couple stations there. You can inhabit them easily, and you can live there if you want. But over here, I think that's not exactly possible. But honestly, maybe it's possible. I have no idea. Again, if someone knows more on that topic, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And I also love how I love the shield tank on this thing. I mean, I've always been using the Ashimmu as a shield tank ever since I got the ship, and this build is like 5 years old now. I mean, this is such a long-lasting ship, one of the few ships that, if you had like 5 years ago, if you had the Ashimmu like in 2020, then if you have the same ship now, you can continue using the same build. You don't have to change anything because it just works. It simply works, and that's the beauty of Blood Raiders. Same build works across the board for a couple of years now. And when it comes to the performance, the only problem that you will probably face are stabs, honestly. Besides, if stabs were to get nerfed or completely removed from the game, the good old Ashimmu, even the old build one, will kind of start to be really good again, and would probably become one of the more nasty ships that you can fly. But then, of course, that's only if the stabs and one-click escape then of course just go away. That's the main problem that the Ashimmu faces now. It's not like the ship is bad, it's just stuff that's been added just render the evil capabilities of the ships kind of pointless and kind of useless. That's the main problem. But for PvE here, I have absolutely no problems with this boat. Now the build maybe my current build, I mean, so far it's been doing really well. I've been thinking about this for a while, but maybe one Nosferatu might not cut it for some. Dual Nosferatus might do the job just fine. Although I feel like the Ashimmu, this Ashimmu at least, this current one, our current Ashimmu in this game, works really well with only one Nosferatu and dual webs. Again, if you have a different build that does work for you, then I guess that different build can also work just fine. I mean, you have like million builds that you can use for this ship. But I've always used the Ashimmu in this way, with dual webs. Range control is fantastic on this ship, and I always had the idea to basically slow down the enemy and just slowly kill them by kiting. I've used the same trick and the same idea for PvP when I used this ship for PvP, and it's worked. It worked. It was so fun to use this thing back in the day. Honestly, I cannot describe how insanely fun this ship was 3 years ago. I was very happy with the Ashimmu back then, and I wish I could go back and just experience that again, because I don't know if I can get the same feeling anymore. It does have that unique feel to it that you experience once in a game, and once you play the game for a couple of years, you know, that feeling kind of fades away in a way, but never completely goes away. Well, that's exactly how I feel about this ship. I missed the good old days where, you know, I could go in null space, anywhere basically, alone, completely alone, and find a battle cruiser or even a cruiser and just have a good old 1v1 without having million stabs to look out for, or without having like implants to look out for. Back then, it was pure joy to fly this ship. Maybe those days come back one day. I don't know. I mean, now I'm not really sure what I can catch with only 1.1 disruptor. not many ships, that's for sure. But maybe I'll attempt to do something like this again. I mean, I really, you cannot imagine how I miss flying this thing. If there's a ship that I am pissed, that was kind of ruined for me, that's the Ashimmu. No other ship. I mean, you can take away the symbol from me, you can take away the cells, anything, and I wouldn't really care much. But the Ashimmu, I never really, you know, never really came over the fact that the Ashimmu isn't as good as it used to be, and I'm kind of annoyed and kind of angry, still angry. That's unfortunately the reality at the moment. I know I could get the ship to work, but I don't want to fit the Ashimmu with like 50 scrummers. It's not how the ship was meant to be used. This ship is meant to use E-War, and it's meant to have the modules that it has bonuses for. If I fit the Ashimmu with 5 scramblers, well, that's not the Ashimmu anymore. And you know, this is one of those ships that has that unique personality, and if you change that build, if you change the function of the ship, it's no longer the same ship. Which isn't the case with other ships. I mean, you can do anything you want with the cells, Cinnabal, Vigilant, they work with any build that you have, basically. Alright, well, I've been clearing all of these sides here. I don't know I have no idea what floor this is, what room this is, like 15 or something. I have no idea. I was here for like two and a half hours now. And I think it's time for me to loot those boxes here, and it's time to show you how to actually, you know, leave the new systems, because this is the loot, by the way, that I got here. Pretty juicy loot, to be honest, and I like what you can get in the new regions. So, how do you get out? Well, did you see those homecoming Nildrags? Well, you can get those homecoming Nildrags from any enemies in the anomalies, basically. Pick any anomaly and kill a couple of these ships, they will probably drop the homecoming Nildrag, and then you can use that and basically get out of the Kalevala Expanse. That's how you get out of the system here, and that's what I'm going to show you here. Now you have those debuffs. Some of the boxes, it's funny because some of the boxes here, when you open them, they explode, and they basically give you some debuffs which last a while. So yeah, it's a very interesting mechanic, and you have to pay close attention to what happens. See that? That explodes, and it reduced my armor resistance. Isn't that lovely? Well, I'm a shield tank, so I don't really care, but I think I got defense this. Oh my god, yeah. Although I think it's for the armor that it looks like it did reduce some armor, but That's what you can kind of get here from opening boxes. And I think as the floors go on, it just gets more difficult and difficult. Honestly, I kind of like that. It does seem interesting and unique for this little new region. And honestly, after experiencing this, I think I'll just go here more often. Definitely has opportunity to be very profitable, and has, most importantly, definitely has opportunity to be very, very fun. And I think the fun factor is more important than ISK. Having fun is more important than ISK, to be honest, because I mean, it's a game. Games are meant to be fun, and honestly, so far this has been fun. And the last little box to crack open, or well, not crack open, but the last little box to open, and then we can leave on this little system. I got a new blueprint for the drone, beautiful. Alright, well then. Here you can take a look at the loot. This is the homecoming Needle Jack or filament. Well, I call it Needle Jack, it's a filament. And let's use it. So, same principle. Have to be close to this little hole here and wait for it to construct, and then it will suck your ship in and it will eat you in Empire space. Can be low sec, null sec. I mean, actually, hold a second. It's not null sec. Empire space, high sec and low sec mostly. It's completely random, so yeah, it's, if you want a adventure, this is definitely one way to get a adventure, because it will basically be leading you all over the place, all over the galaxy. It kind of reminds me on a movie or a show that I watched. I honestly forgot the name of it, but does have that feel to it, and honestly, I like it. And I am yeeted in, let's see, where did this yeet me? Oh, it yeeted me at a star, okay, and we are in low sec, beautiful, in Aridia, one of my favorite regions. So, that was the new anomaly for smaller ships. Next time, I'll be running the medium and large one. I'm very curious to see how that works, and I'll see if I can sneak in a CNC carrier. I think it would be hilarious if I can manage to sneak in a CNC carrier. That would be hilarious, and we will see how that thing works in Kalevala Expanse, since I know you guys would probably be interested to see how a CNC carrier runs these anomalies. I'm also curious to see how it works, so yeah, that's one of the next things that I'll be doing, because I'm very excited to see how that thing will work over there. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe, and with that being said, stay safe, play safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.